Hey, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel, Angella's Book Hotspot, a place where we can chit chat about writing and everything books. The question of the day is, what is my advice for aspiring writers? How often have I met people, perfect strangers on the streets? All I have to do is smile or lend them a helping hand, and I'd be surprised to see how they will start opening up to me. Maybe there's a positive vibe about me or something that attracts people, je ne sais quoi, but some feel comfortable telling me their life stories. I've heard the same story so many times. They practice a profession they never wanted to do. They keep doing it because they feel trapped. But deep down inside, there's something else calling them. Some want to be painters, others are dancers, others actors. Some would prefer to be on the top of a mountain playing the guitar or writing their memoir rather than be a doctor. And I'm sure many of us can relate. I remember I was sitting next to a lady in an airplane on my way to Washington, D.C. to a writers' conference. We immediately clicked the moment we greeted each other and we started chatting. She told me everything. She became very impressed when she discovered I was an author. All of a sudden, light shined in her eyes. She became very passionate and curious to know how I did it. She told me about the manuscript that she started writing when she was a little girl but never told anybody about it. She didn't think it was worthy enough to finish it or to even dream of publishing it. She gazed at me with such wonder as if I were a star and I just fell from the sky. She immediately bought a copy of my book and begged me for my autograph. She told me her name, but I prefer to refer to her here as Brenda. I never heard of Brenda again once we parted ways from the airplane. I believe I was the only person she had felt comfortable with to share her secret dream with. By meeting a writer in person, someone of the same skin tone who looked like her, this gave her permission or validation to go after her dream. She felt very enthusiastic about picking up writing again. She felt if I could do it, perhaps she could do it too. And I felt very privileged. I was truly honored to be a source of inspiration for Brenda. Little did Brenda know I had my own fears, my own self-doubt creeping inside for years. I was shy of 20 when I moved from my homeland to the United States. And being a writer was the last thing on my mind while I was juggling school, work, and at the same time going through a turbulent marriage. I was more interested in becoming a doctor in order to survive. Soon I got my BA in psychology. I was off to medical school. And by the time I had my BA, I was already earning multiple awards for poetry, and I had already published a collection of poetry called Mirror of Souls. I remember when I was in medical school, instead of studying big books like the USMLE to pass my board exams, I found myself writing my book Sahara. Each time I opened the USMLE book to study, a new idea for my novel just popped into my mind. I had two forces fighting inside of me: the need to be a medical doctor versus the call to be a writer. Writing was my happy place, while medicine was the practical stuff I needed to do in order to survive in the real world. How many of you have gone through something similar? One time I was sitting inside the classroom listening to the professor give a lecture on physiology. I daydreamed how the lecture could be twisted into a story called The Blood Island. Why was I daydreaming about a fictional world when I was supposed to be focusing on biochemistry or the mechanism of diseases? These questions pounded my head with guilt. You know you're meant to be a writer or a storyteller when everything you do always brings you back to a pen and paper, and everything you hear or see can be constructed into a story. Society has all these prescribed rules. You ought to be this and that in order to be a good functional citizen. You ought to be a conventional person and not operate outside the norms. Your creativity should be something that you practice as a hobby and not as a full-time craft. By now, I already know the script by heart. Each time I go to a social gathering to have a drink or simply to have a good time, I must be ready to answer the big old question, what do you do? Oh, I'm a writer. Oh, a writer. Interesting. I never met a writer before. These are the optimists like Brenda that I mentioned earlier, who seem very genuinely excited and curious to know about my writing or my books. And then there's always the skeptics who will always be ready to ask you, what else do you do? Meaning, do I have a day job or something to keep me hooked in the rat race? They sound like George Orwell's thought police, patrolling the social scenes, probing you and eavesdropping. If you're a writer, a creator, or a thinker, Watch out for this thought police. Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother will install his cameras all the way inside your bedroom to monitor what you're working on and to go report any suspicious activity to Uncle Sam. And we all know what that will eventually escalate into. You will be charged with the third crime. Once at work, I was at a board meeting being held during lunchtime when someone asked me a question. My stomach was growling. I started to answer by saying, I think, when my boss immediately interjected, I know you think. Some jobs do not require you to think. They just need a robot to perform a specific task. Someone to keep the machine running smooth. Anything that deviates from that will be considered a risk or a problem. There's only one life to live. Life is too short to be going after something just to pay bills or to satisfy someone else's vision of you. And why would you want to go into something, or why would you want to go into a profession to please someone like an intimate partner? When years down the line, you don't even know if that person will still be in your life. Although I've been writing for some time, it took me a while to accept the fact that I'm a writer. And I cannot be multiple things at once. I have to choose one. I made the biggest mistake that anybody can make, dividing my time for years, running and going to the moon to satisfy others' expectations of me, only to realize that the only thing that truly makes me happy is writing. I can stay up writing to the wee hours of the night and never even notice the time. Even when I get exhausted, it is a good kind of exhaustion. I say if God gives you a gift, why not embrace it? I encourage aspiring writers to follow their dreams with a blood-driven, untiring passion, as the soul needs air to breathe. The road is tough, I know, and the scrutiny of a writer today is ever more so daunting. To quote Kevin Costner in the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, he will come. You have to have faith. And this blood-driven, untiring passion is what will lead you to your destination. If you're doing it for money, don't. You have to work for the love of it, not because you want to be rich quick. For if the money doesn't come, what will you do? I don't know any great writer who has not experienced setbacks before becoming a great success. Mario Puzo did not know financial success until he released his third book, The Godfather. This book sent him skyrocketing to not only become the New York Times best-selling author, but one of the greatest writers in the world. Bottom line is, you have to be willing to pay your dues and be able to set long-term goals. You have to have tunnel vision if you want to succeed. And don't let anybody else define your goals. This is what I will tell anybody aspiring to be a writer. Okay, that's it for today, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Au revoir.